What's up, everyone? It's the OOTP GM, and I want to welcome you guys to the 25th episode of my Detroit Tigers GM Let's Play here on Out of the Park Baseball 18. So we're here at the beginning of the Rule 5 draft, and before we get into that, I wanted to give you guys a couple of quick updates in regards to the team. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to show you guys some personnel that we signed. In the last episode, I talked about how we needed to sign some personnel, but we didn't get around to doing it. So I brought back Josh Miller and Bill Mueller. I brought back both of them as our pitching and hitting coaches, respectively. They both had pretty good years for us. You can see our ERA has gone down every year with Josh Miller as our pitching coach, and then Mueller, our average. We just mashed the ball last year, so we brought him back. But we managed to get Terry Francona as our bench coach. I couldn't pass this up. We had to give him a lot of money, $475,000. Originally, he wasn't even interested, but when I upped the offer, he did finally agree to become our bench coach. And he has a really good relationship. I mean, he's average in terms of development, but he's got a good relationship with the players. So really, a lot of different players. He's got a good relationship with them. I was happy to see that, and you have a legendary manager as your bench coach, can't pass that up. And then in terms of free agency right now, the only offer that I've made so far in free agency is to this Altavia, the reliever. We made a $1 million offer to him. He seems to favor that. In terms of the other free agents, the only players right now that I am potentially looking to offer deals to right now are some of these starting pitchers. Some of these guys are interested in signing with us, but their prices are still a little steep for me. Like DeGrom is asking for like 2 years, $20 million. Carrasco won't sign with us because he doesn't like our manager, Ryan Sandberg. And then like Gibbons is wanting a 4-year deal. I'm not going to give a 4-year deal to him. I don't want to sign anybody long term. Same thing with Rodon. He's a lefty. I'd love to bring Rodon in, but not at $9 million for a 2.5-star player. And he wants like a 5-year deal. So we're going to wait a little bit longer because I'd like to have at least one lefty in the rotation because we don't have one of those, and Danny Duffy is too expensive at this point. So I'm going to wait a little while longer and see if the price comes down on some of these guys, and then ultimately maybe make a decision on offering them a deal. But as we get into the Rule 5 draft here, I wanted to show you guys pretty much everybody that we were going to put on our 40-man roster. We've done that. I went through and looked at some of the players. Some of these guys, obviously, I could take off the 40-man roster if I wanted because they're not going to be a big part of our future. But we don't need the space necessarily because, like, Kel Johnson, he's not going to get picked up. Double A, like Brady Scott and Caden Smith both are guys that they're tempting, like they're guys that I'm tempted to put on the 40-man, but I don't want to do it quite yet because personally I don't think these guys are going to get picked. 2.5 stars is like kind of right at the edge of what I normally like to do with guys on the 40-man, but I don't think Brady Scott's going to get picked. Same thing here in Lakeland, Cameron Fields, he's our best guy, 2 stars, he's not going to get picked. Blake Beers, he's not going to get picked. Connecticut Tigers, the guys down here again. A lot of these guys are not going to get picked, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, there we go. So we pretty much have everybody there that we want. We'll head into the Rule 5 draft, and we are obviously going to be right near the bottom, 28th in the Rule 5 draft. So we'll go ahead and we'll get right into this here. And in terms of players, the starting pitchers, let's do all players. Okay, so a couple of guys near the top. Obviously, a lot of these guys that are ranked really high, we're not going to be grabbing guys that are in rookie ball or high A or even double A. We could maybe look at double A, but again, we don't need any position players really. We're pretty much set in terms of our position players. And then like the first triple A guy is this second baseman, this Malquin Canelo. But again, we don't really need any backups, and I don't think we're going to be. He's a good defensive guy. He plays 2 positions, and he's a decent defender. But again, we've got those guys. We've got those kind of guys in our organization. He's played the 1 year here in the majors, you can see. But I don't think I'm going to draft anybody in the Rule 5 draft this year. I honestly don't see me picking anybody. I kind of briefly scrolled through here, and I just don't I don't see anybody. This is one of the guys that's Mark Ecker. He's one of our players. But again, I don't see us picking anybody in this Rule 5 draft. I just don't see it. So I think we're ultimately going to pass on the Rule 5 draft. I think we're going to go ahead and let's go until next pick by Detroit. Let's see if anybody gets picked of interest, and doesn't look like it. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to see if our scout recommends anybody, but I don't think. Okay, this Blake Tiberi, what is he? He's a 1.5 star third baseman. See, we don't need a 1.5 star third baseman. We're all set there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to complete the draft because there's nobody there that looks interesting to me. So that was a really easy Rule 5 draft this year. So we go ahead and completed that, and I'm going to move forward here until next year, which will be the beginning of it'll be the beginning of 2017. So I kind of just want to see if anything pops up of interest before we get into like the Hall of Fame results and stuff. I just wanted to pop through there and see if anything pops up. We do have a personal message, trade proposal. No, I'm going to pass on that. We are going to reject that. Alright, so Altavia did sign his contract with us. So he signed, place him on the active roster. Alright, so we are all set there in terms of Altavia. Like I said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push forward until the Hall of Fame voting results. We'll see who gets in. And then if anything pops up in terms of guys signing with us, if I decide to offer contracts to any guys during like the preseason or the spring training areas, I'll pop in real quick and let you guys know what happened. But otherwise, we're just going to go to the Hall of Fame voting results here. And then after that, I'll see if there's any other players I might look to offer contracts to. And then we'll just go ahead and skip forward to the beginning of the regular season and the season preview. So I'll see you guys for the Hall of Fame voting results. Alright guys, so we're here at the Hall of Fame voting results, and it looks like Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz are the two inductees this year. Like I said, I knew Alex Rodriguez was going to get in on his own because the game doesn't take into account steroids and stuff like that. So Rodriguez gets in, Ortiz gets in, but thankfully Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds did not get in, so they're all dropped. Curt Schilling unfortunately did not get in. Mussina's numbers went up a little bit, I think. Roy Halladay. Rollins got 31% his first year. But a lot of the guys that we've been voting for don't look like they're going to get in. Jeff Kent, obviously, he's not going to get in. Tim Hudson continues to be mired way down here. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. But right now, it does not look like a lot of these guys that we're voting for. Maybe Halladay. Mussina, we'll have to see what happens with his last year on the ballot next year. But so those are the two guys, Rodriguez and Ortiz, both get in to the Hall of Fame. This trade proposal is probably garbage. Yeah, it's garbage, so we're going to reject it. Okay, so that's pretty much the Hall of Fame voting results. And then I wanted to show you guys real quick kind of an update on the free agency market. So some of these top pitchers that we're looking for are still available. DeGrom is still available. Rodon is still available. Danny Duffy is still available. Some of these guys that we're looking at, especially like the lefties, Felix Hernandez is way down here too, but you can see his ratings have dropped off significantly. But I'm just going to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about here with these guys. So DeGrom, he wants $23 million for the player option. For 1 year, it's tempting, but I don't want to get into a bidding war over DeGrom, so that's why I'm going to pass on him. Givens, even though he's an Iron Man, he wants a 4-year deal at $9.5 million. I'm not going to give him a 4-year deal. I could offer him a shorter deal, but I'm not really sure if I want to do that. I really would like to add a lefty. You can see Rodon here. He wants a 5-year deal at an average of $9.2 million. Now, I wouldn't give him a 5-year deal. Not in his dreams. I would be willing to give him a shorter deal, like 2 or 3 years. But I don't want to pay him $9.2 million, not with his ratings, because his ratings aren't particularly high. He's a 3-star. Well, this is OSA. I want to do Theo's ratings. There we go. So Theo has him rated as a 2.5-star pitcher. And then Danny Duffy's kind of the same thing. He's a lefty. his numbers have been kind of getting worse, and he's looking for $11.5 million. So at this point, I'm not going to offer these guys deals because once you start getting into later parts of the off season, like the preseason and spring training, their demands start to come down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip forward to these points. I'm going to do it off screen, and if any of these guys, if their demands drop, I'll pop in again, and I will show you guys if we're going to offer them a deal or not, and I'll keep you guys updated on that front. But otherwise, if nothing happens, we're just going to skip forward to the beginning of the regular season, and I'm going to show you guys do a season preview before we get into it. So, all right, so I will see you guys at the next point that we need to, whether it's popping in for a contract or at the beginning of the season. All right, guys, so I wanted to pop in here real quick. We're here on Valentine's Day, ironically, February 14th. And I made an offer to Cole Hamels, a 1-year, $1.7 million offer. He's a veteran guy. He's a left-hander. He's a guy that could bring could bring a lefty to our starting rotation. And a $1.7 million commitment isn't all that much. So because he hasn't pitched great the last few seasons, you can see his record and all that is not really good. But he is a veteran left-hander. He does have great work ethic and intelligence. And while his pitching stats aren't great anymore, he's 38 years old. He does bring a lefty veteran to our team, potentially. So that's why I offered him the deal. If we go through spring training and he's awful, then, we'll just let him walk. It's not really a huge deal for me, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to go into the season without at least potentially having a lefty in our rotation. In terms of the free agents that are left, these are some of the top guys that are still available, and obviously a lot of them are for positions that we don't need or ones that we're not interested in signing for. Danny Duffy is a better left-handed guy, and I absolutely tried to offer him a deal, but as you can see here, his demands are just way too high. I tried to offer him all kinds of 2-year deals with team options and stuff. He didn't want any of them, so we will not be having Danny Duffy on our team. If Cole Hamels signs with us, great, but Danny Duffy will not be on our team. So I wanted to pop in and show you guys that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and move forward, until probably I'm going to skip through spring training. I'll probably move forward to the beginning of the season, and I'll show you guys what happens, if Cole Hamels signs or doesn't sign or what happens with him. But otherwise, I just wanted to show you guys real quick what was going on there. So I will see you guys most likely at the beginning of the season. Alright guys, just wanted to pop in real quick here and show you, we're only 6 days later, but Cole Hamels did sign with us, so we're going to go ahead, I'm going to add him to the active roster. So we will have him on our team moving forward, so we'll see if he can provide a veteran presence for us, and we'll see what happens, if he makes the team out of spring training. So the next time I see you guys, it'll be at the beginning of the season with a season preview. Alright, so we are back here at opening day of the 2022 season, and I wanted to show you guys what the 25-man roster is, and give you an update on our prospects and the top prospects going into the season preview, spring training, all that kind of good stuff before we end the episode. So first off, let's go ahead and get right into the roster. So Cole Hamels did not work out. As you will see here, we ended up waiving and designating him for assignment because his ERA in spring training was over 10. So I could not justify keeping him on the roster with pitching that poorly. So we waived him and designated him for assignment. We also lost Zach Shepard. He was claimed on waivers by the San Francisco Giants. So he was a guy that was our starting third baseman for a couple of years, but it is what it is. I mean, it hurts our depth a little bit in our minors, but otherwise it's not too bad. So, but in terms of our pitching staff, no real surprises here. Fulmer, Buehler, Burrows, Faedo, and Slegers are going to be our top 5. Obviously, hopefully Faedo and Slegers can have a good season. We're counting on Buehler to kind of establish himself this year. He didn't have a particularly good spring, so I'm kind of hoping this is a reverse of what the past has been, because he's had good springs the last 2 years and his stats have not been very good. So hopefully that's an indication that he's getting ready to turn the corner here. And then in terms of our bullpen, you'll see over here, no real surprises, really. We made a couple of tough decisions in terms of who to keep in the bullpen, but most of the regular guys are still here. LeKind made the roster this year. He was on the roster for part of last year, but he also was down in the minors. But he makes the roster out of spring training this year. The two biggest moves that we made in terms of the bullpen, we sent Gerson Bautista back down to the minors. He's been up in the majors briefly the past couple of years for us, but he hasn't been able to establish himself yet. It was tough to send him down, but he might be earning a regular spot here pretty soon for us. So we set Gerson Bautista down. And then the other move that we made was we traded away Daniel Stumpf to the Washington Nationals. We made we made a recent move here. Here we go, transactions. Sorry, I'm a little bit disoriented at the moment. So we made a move with the Washington Nationals. We traded them Daniel Stumpf and this kind of low-level center field prospect, this Suzuki. In exchange, we got an 18-year-old pitching prospect and a 24-year-old second base prospect. So, Stumpf has been on our team for a number of years now. He's been kind of our long distance, long distance left-handed reliever. And, made a move, and we felt like it was the right one to make there, to trade him and get some value. So, in terms of the lineups, pretty much it is the exact same as it was last year. There are no adjustments here. Nobody's up or down. Everything is the exact same. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero is now his first full season as our starting third baseman. But every other position is the exact same. Santana is our shortstop. He's listed as a second baseman, but he's our starting shortstop, as you can see. But pretty much down the list here, nothing is different. Pentecost, Vasquez, Cabrera still back up at first base and as a DH. Then Eves, Guerrero, Santana, Kendall, Trout, Harper, Stewart. So, no big surprises here. Everybody here is exactly what we expected. You can see the lineup over here. This is obviously right-handers versus the right-handed pitcher with the DH. A little bit surprised that Vasquez is batting ninth, but that was the choice that our illustrious manager made. You can see there's a few differences here. Stewart moves up in the lineup a little bit versus lefties, and then versus righties, it's still Vasquez in the starting lineup. So no big changes there. In terms of the spring training and preseason and all that, we went 18-10 in spring training. No real big eye-popping stats to make mention of, but we went 18-10 in spring training. And then in terms of preseason predictions, projected for 92 wins this year. Actually, not projected to be the best team in the American League. But again, I'd rather have a more modest projection or predicted wins than something that's completely outrageous. I think this is actually a little bit nicer to see because it's easier for us to outperform it. Projected to be a pretty good pitching team, though, 3.94 ERA, so I am happy to see that. Then in terms of top 10 hitters, top 10 pitchers, you got Bryce Harper, the only one on the list this year projected to have another really great season. And then in terms of pitchers, it's Steckenrider and Fulmer. So those are the two guys that make the top 10 hitters, top 10 pitchers lists. And then in terms of the top hitters, top players, and top prospects, we'll get into the player rankings here real quick. So Bryce Harper is currently the number one position player in baseball. Mike Trout is number 6. And those are the only top 20 guys that we have on our roster. And then in terms of pitchers, we also have the number one pitcher in Michael Fulmer, and we also have Aaron Sanchez, who, of course, is not pitching right now because he's injured. But Jacob deGrom, as you can see, is still a free agent. He was never signed in the offseason. Now, the interesting thing about this is, and I looked at this a little bit off screen, if you go in, he still is claiming he has offers on the table, and he's looking for $28 million. I'm not going to sign Jacob deGrom for $28 million, even for one season. It's just, for me, it's not worth it. And when you get into a bidding war situation like that, I mean, this could last well into the season before he gets signed, and I don't want to deal with that. So, we're not gonna deal with that. We're just gonna let him sign wherever he wants. And then in terms of top prospects, we do not have a single top 100 prospect this year. All of the guys that were top prospects have leveled out. Some of our former prospects are on the list, though. Thomas Dillard is on the list. But we don't have any top 100 prospects at all. If you go into here and you check out the player development tab, our top prospect is this Yakael Sisson. He's number 132. So we have 5 guys in the top 200, but we do not have any top 100 prospects this year. And that's mainly because a lot of them have either come up through the system already, or they transitioned out, or we've traded some of them away in deals. So, but anyways, that is the season preview heading into the 2022 season. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Comments and feedback are always welcome. And I will see you guys for the next episode, which will be the 2022 first year player draft.